On today's EMJ PGA podcast, we have our first guest appearance as none other than horse racing journalist Jake Wilkes joins us to talk all things golf, horse racing, and the imminently arriving Cheltenham Festival. Me and Ben also cook up a new golf format. As always, this podcast does contain explicit language, but past that, we hope you enjoy the podcast. Hello and welcome back to episode 11 now of the EMJ PGA Podcast. To all of you listening, thank you so much. This is your Thursday podcast for the week, and we appreciate all of you who are interacting with the podcast, getting involved. It's much appreciated for me and Ben. We enjoy you guys listening. We enjoy hearing from you guys, if it's positive or negative. Yeah, we're not stopping on this podcast. We're not stopping on our mission throughout the 2026 golf season. As you guys have hopefully already listened to, we've already reviewed and previewed the weekend's just gone golf and the weekend coming up at Bay Hill. So as you know, this podcast later on in the week always takes a little bit of a U-turn, a little bit of a twist. So today, on today's podcast, we have got Jake Wilkes, horse racing journalist, who I've had the pleasure or displeasure of sharing a good few rounds of golf with, to talk about horse racing and Cheltenham coming up next week, which I personally am very excited about and I'm looking forward to a lot. And we are also later on in the podcast going to reveal to you our own golf competition format. Okay. We're on, and I'm not going to say the word reform, okay, even though I have just said it, but we're on a mission to refine golf and club golf, especially, okay? We want to take out bits that aren't working and install bits that can work, a bit more fun for you guys. And just give you a flavour of what we find to be fun on the golf course. Because as we know, golf isn't always about trying to hit every shot perfect, taking everything mega serious. It's also important to go out and have a bit of fun, especially if you're a paying member at a golf club. You know, you maybe don't want to be playing stroke play every week. You don't want to be playing Stableford every week in competitions trying to earn money. You know, you want to spice it up a little bit. So me and Ben are going to do our best to do that. And Ben, who is on the other side of me on the screen, hopefully, if you've watched on YouTube, is primed and ready to go for this podcast. Ben, how are you feeling?
Yeah, feeling good, feeling excited, feeling ready to sort of change the face of golf, as we're about to.
100%, 100%. We're ready and we're coming and we are going to make golf a much more enjoyable experience for you guys, as well as our new format. We're also going to go and play it in the next few weeks and record it and talk to you about how it's worked, what bits were good, what bits were bad, so that you guys can chip in and maybe make suggestions of your own, because we want this to be a team effort after all. Ben, obviously, we are filming this on a Monday night, so those of you listening on a Thursday, the weekend's not long past for us. Interesting weekend, Ben. We had some good socials this weekend, Friday and Saturday. We managed to meet up for some action. Ben, how'd you feel? How'd you feel about the weekend?
Yeah, it was a nice weekend. Yeah, not a big social weekend, not a weekend we're unused to doing double headers. But yeah, no, good bit of social, bit of football, did a bit of running. Yeah, I mean, some terrible football on in the Premier League for my club, some decent football for your club. So yeah, overall a great weekend.
100%, 100%. And we actually got a bit of free promo this weekend, because at the Church Stretton Football Club bingo night, I managed to pick up a win in the raffle. Okay,
Mm.
and that was obviously fantastic. But the best bit about it, your gaffer, your manager, Dean Richards, what a legend he is. As I'm winning it, just gives us free promotion, like a free promotion in front of everyone there, which I had to put in my in my rundown debrief, because I thought, what a moment! Like, that's probably the best bit
Mm.
of promotion we've had so far. He might get on the podcast as a result. Like, how would you feel about getting him on the podcast?
Uh, yeah, I mean, just on the thoughts of, I forgot you even won that. That shows how hard I was concentrating. And yeah, I mean, there's 100 to 150 people in that clubhouse, which was amazing. But yeah, no chance we get Dean Richards on this podcast. He won't even be listening. He might be listening, but yeah, zero chance of that. But thank you to Dean Richards.
Thank you to Dean Richards, and we sincerely hope, obviously you're part of the squad, but I sincerely hope as a fan that Stratton can bring home the Salop Leisure League this year because we're ready for it. I've seen too much heartbreak over the last few years from Stretton.
Yeah.
Like, oh, honestly, they can kill me. But I'm primed and ready for us to have a massive night out when they get that league lifted. And touch wood, they do. So yeah, good luck to all those lads for the rest of the season because I'll definitely be watching from afar. Likely with my work on a Saturday, I'll be keeping it tabs on the results. So hopefully they can get that done. Ben, like, you fancy clinching the title winning goal off the bench?
Oh, imagine. I mean, it'd be nice to be on the bench for lifting the title, but we'll work towards that. A title winning clutch is something I genuinely do dream about, amongst other things. But yeah, it is the biggest 2 or 3 months for Church Stretton Football Club, Church Stretton, the town now, for to go and do that. I mean, you look at the amount of people we get for a bingo night up there. In Church Stretton. I mean, imagine winning the league and also you being a part of it when we've got to these finals. We've lost 4 finals in a row, I think, or three. So it's been tough going for the last 3 or 4 years. So yeah, we're excited, but we're fucking nervous. As Arsenal will be, we're in a similar situation, so we're fucking nervous each game.
Yeah, yeah, I got full faith in them though. Like we've had too many, fall short in the last few years.
Mm,
But as you said, like unbelievable, and like that's I feel like a golf club does do this. Obviously, being having worked in a golf club before, they do this. But there's just something about being in there with like the football lads, the fans, the families. Like I was sat there the other night thinking like, what an atmosphere this is, and it won't be normal at a lot of football clubs that. So
no.
yeah, definitely you're always super happy to be invited and super happy to sort of just be a part of that community if that makes sense. So I'm desperate for them to bring it home, and I'm sure they will do. I'm sure they will do. Okay then, moving into the podcast, as I mentioned just a minute ago. We have got our first ever guest on the EMJ PGA podcast, and I'm super excited. Um, I hope you guys are too. A little bit of something different. Hopefully, we can cross over into our guest's audience because he's doing absolutely fantastically on TikTok, especially. He's really amassed a really decent following, and he's definitely worth a follow as well. As much as we'd love to pick up some of his audience, you guys listening to this need to go and check him out as well because he is funny when he's reviewing his horse racing. A seasoned veteran at some gambling habits, which we don't condone, but he knows what he's doing out there. He knows what he's doing, and I'm really looking forward to speaking to him. So for the first time on the EMJ PGA podcast, we welcome on guest number one. It is none other than Jake Wilkes. Well, look who we have here. It's the first guest in the history of the EMJ PGA podcast, this prestigious moment taken by none other than my man, Jake Wilkes. Jake, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. How are you feeling coming on, being the first guest to ever make an appearance on here?
No, thanks for having me, mate. I would have been offended if you didn't get anyone else in, to be honest, considering a couple of years ago we had the idea basically to start a podcast. For anyone who doesn't know, yeah, Euan likes your horses as well. So that was a pipeline idea back in the day, but yeah, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. No worries at all. Thank you for coming on. I actually forgot about that. You're going to kill me for that. I forgot about that conversation that we had. What did it include? Like, can you remember the premises of what we were going to start it on?
Yeah, we were going to do like basically we like every sport going, so we were going to do like this punting pod where it was like horse racing, UFC, like football, all that jazz. Basically, just go through your week of review and normally talk about how much money we've lost. Shambolic stuff, but it was a good idea at the time.
I actually still don't mind it as an idea. Now, what I would say to the listeners on here, because we've got a few underage listeners, from what I believe, a couple of listeners that are still, in college and school potentially, is that what we're going to talk about today is going to be along the premises of some gambling philosophies in the sense of, okay, we're going to be picking horses. For those of you who don't know, Jake is a horse racing journalist. Okay, he writes for a couple of horse racing outlets, media outlets. Again, I did a little preview of you without you knowing, but you're also part of the Racing Media Academy 2025, so you're well schooled on the media front. And yeah, we're going to talk about horse racing for a decent bit of this podcast today, but obviously as a golf podcast, we need to sprinkle some of that in there, and it's a good full circle moment that because we said about starting a podcast, and we said about all these sports that we were interested in, and it just so happens that golf is one of those. So yeah, like my first question to you, Jake, is obviously apart. We'll come on to the horse racing in a moment, but what is it that grabbed you about golf? Like, what is it? What part of it sort of made you go, oh, I'm a big fan of this, relative to your horse racing, your football, your MMA and boxing, which we spoke all about. What was it for you?
I'm going to sound like an old man, but when the football, my footballing career as a youth started to go wrong due to injuries and alcohol and all of that other jazz as you get older, golf was always that sort of like, oh, go have a nice knock. It's exercise. It's literally just you go out, you have a walk around, you have a hit of a ball. I used to go to the range a lot with my dad. We used to go bowling during half term in Leominster, one of our locals, and they had a driving range out there, so we just go out and smash balls out there. And to be fair, like when you're on a range, there's not that much like pressure. You could just go out and hit it, and I was actually all right. I was never one of those people who would just like scuff it or top it along the floor, which was always quite nice. So every time, like he said, do you want to go on the range or do you want to swing some have some swings? I'd be like, yeah, sure, absolutely. And then started developing from there. It was one of those where I first started. I just go out to the range and try to hit a driver as far as you can, or like hit like a hybrid or something. And as we'll touch on my golf game a bit later, like those have always been one of my more stronger points, just because I think that's where I first started really. But yeah, started that golf journey when I was like 12, 13, just casually playing with your mates. And then as I got a little bit better and as I started playing a lot more, you start getting the bug of I want to improve, I want to get the scores down, I want to compete really at like club level or something, or just have a knock with your friends like competitively. And then ever since there, yeah, joined Ludlow a few years ago and I've been there ever since.
Yeah, you've had the privilege or disprivilege of sharing a few rounds with myself, my brother as well, who's kept you company since I've been working away from Ludlow, which I'm sure you've both entertained each other. And like I think that's it, isn't it? It's just as you once you become a member, it sort of goes to that next level. Then like you start to immerse yourself in competitions, you start to think competitively, you compare yourself to where other people are at. That motivates you or demotivates you sometimes. I like being in that club sort of golfer dynamic, in a sense of, and this is where we get along quite well, in the sense of you keep yourself to yourself, you play with the same people most of the time, and just go out and have a knock. And if a bad round comes, so be it. And if a good round comes, like always when I used to be at Ludlow, like coming in and seeing you've had a good round or a bad round, it would always make me laugh. Just seeing your face coming in, trying to judge your facial expression. So no, I think that's a really good way to go about it. And yeah, I think that's the big thing for people picking up golf as well, is just enjoying it in the very, very early days, like not seeing it as a chore, just seeing it as something that's actually fun to go and do. I feel like those players continue on a bit longer than someone that might be forced to go to the driving range or forced to go to the putting green and have a mess around. It's one of those things where you've got to get into the groove and just do it as a bit of fun. And then that leads on. Then talk about your golf right now. Then we had a round last week, a week to the day, didn't we? We had a round. Talk to me about your golf right now. And you were meant to go and play today, and you didn't. How do you feel your golf is right now?
Well, I had 4 months off. I was one of those fair weather golfers, as you know. I always tell myself I'm going to play during winter and then just don't get round to it when it's cold, miserable and wet. I'm one of those people. Last week we played, so basically for anyone who doesn't know, I play off 15. It might be 16 now actually. 16.1 I think was the last handicap when I checked. So just below 18, like it's pretty nice. You have like generally a shot a hole. That's where my golf game's at. I went in with the expectation of I haven't swung a club for 4 months. This is going to be horrific, and I actually shot my second best score. And I think that was because one, the expectation was so low. I was fully in my head expecting, there's going to be some awful shots in there. There's going to be some high scores. And as we just went along, like that just never really came, which was quite nice. There was no pressure. I always find with my golf game when I've had a long time off, like the chipping and the putting, like the touch side of the game is always a little bit rusty. I lose that little bit of feel, particularly around the greens. Whereas with my driver and my irons, like my driver, as I mentioned it before, like when my driver's going well, like all the rest of my game just falls into place. Generally, if my driver's done well, I'll have a good round of golf. but I was comfortable with that. I bombed like the first 2 drives. Okay, they were left, like as we know at Ludlow, one goes straight onto 18, the other goes onto 11, but they're in play, they're safe. And it was more of a fact that they've gone like a couple 100 yards up the way. Like I'm absolutely fine. Like, I'm back in that swing of, okay, that was good. We can go from there. Whereas I remember, if you remember, I had a putt for birdie on the first, and it was the worst. It was like the weakest putt you could literally have. I was so scared of it. I've tapped it, and I've gone to you like I've gone. Like, I can't really use the language on the pod, but I've gone like, what the hell is that? And it was like I was always like, and it was just that sort of feel that you lose. And the first chip, I at one point I just chipped it straight into a bunker. I was like, right, that's brilliant. Like it's those sorts of things. But when everything's ticking, like I found my handicap dropped from like 22 to like 16 was when I really started to hone in on the short game a little bit more. So I think when that comes back, the scores should improve.
Yeah, and I like that as well in terms of your mindset. You've got one clear thing that you think sets you up best to have a good knock, and obviously for myself it's similar. Like if I putt well, I'll play well, and then if I don't putt well, then I can feel like I play well, but ultimately I've got nothing to show for it. And I do always say driver and putter. Let's start with those ones. Let's make those real solid, and we can fill in the gaps. We can fill between the lines from there. So it's clear, and you've got a point of emphasis going into this year, which is fantastic, and I'm sure you'll take that leap. A few evenings on the chipping green, a few lighter nights and stuff like that. Great facilities at Ludlow, all year through, even if it's a bit cold in the winter, all year through. There's going to be a good setup there for you to go and improve, and I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. So coming off golf for the one more question on golf. Okay, you said about how you got into golf. You said about how your game is right now. If someone was thinking about getting into golf, listening to this podcast, all right, what would you sort of say to them in regards to you mentioned on why you got into it and why it's sort of beneficial, but like, what's one sort of thing when you go around the golf course that you like enjoy the most, if that makes sense, and you probably can see it getting other people into the game?
There's 2 things that spring to mind really. Number one, like I said, we have our little group that we play in. I like play with your brother and a few mates all the time. Like it's good to see them. You can have a proper catch up with them. You've got like it's not one of those where you go you see them for 5 minutes a day. Like you're there for a few hours. You're locked in. You're talking about utter rubbish sometimes, but it's just nice because you get away from everything. And that kind of leads on to the second point where it's a very addictive game. You want to keep bettering yourself, but it's so good for the mental. In the sense of okay, if I've played badly one day, it could annoy me to an extent. Yeah, fine, but if you're ever you're so focused in on that round of golf that you start to not think about other things in your life. You kind of just like get away from it all for a couple of hours. When I'm always trying I try not not go on my phone as much when I'm playing, but that's sometimes when there's a race on, I watch that. But I try and focus in on the golf. You're only really thinking about your next shot, thinking about what you could do here, and even just even just talking yourself through it. So like as you're walking up, like if I ever played on my own, I'd be like, okay, so we're gonna try send this towards the back of the green. It's safer there. You're just going through those little things in your mind, and it's just a nice escape from life. It's really good just to clear your head. And whilst it can be a frustrating game, 1 minute you feel like you're on top of the world, the next you're struggling. But mentally, it's fantastic. Like after one hole the other day, I thought I was going on the tour, and then two shots later, I was putting the clubs back in the bag, going, I'm never playing again. So it's that sort of thing. But yeah, it's class.
Yeah, I massively agree, and I think that those points interlink fantastically. When you have a round of golf with someone, there's times where I'll step out onto the golf course, not asked about the way I'm going to play, but more interested in the catch up that I'm going to get to do. And I think it's so good. So and again, this is the thing, if you don't have friends that play golf, go and join a golf club. There will be people your age that are at the same level as you, and even if they're not at the same level as you, that's the great thing about golf, is that it's a fantastic equalizer. You can, Scotty Scheffler can play against his mates and have a good game against them. So this is the whole point of why we play and why we enjoy it so much. Fantastic answers. I massively agree with them. Moving on to your line of work now. Okay, horse racing journalism. All right, and that seems a sure thing cemented for you going forward. You know, obviously, I really enjoy your stuff on social media. We'll have both of your handles on Instagram and on TikTok on the screen now. So if you want to go and follow Jake, feel free, and you'll really enjoy his sort of stuff that he puts up there, especially at this busy time of year for yourself. What got you into horse racing? What was it like? Again, similar to the golf question, what was it about horse racing? And then what made you want to think, okay, I'm gonna, because you don't have to be good at golf to write about it or make a podcast about it. You know, as I'm sure Ben will tell you, but that's maybe a bit harsh. But like again, you can
Poor lad.
yeah, you can sort of again like you don't have to be amazing at that skill that you're writing about. You just have to have some understanding and then follow sort of the ins and the outs, the what makes sort of stuff work as such, and the news as such. You know, you can do that. But what was it about horse racing that sort of grabbed you and made you think, okay, I'm going to do this for a long, long time?
When I was 6, 7, 8-ish, my dad used to put a lucky 15 on a Saturday. Lucky 15 is a type of bet for anyone who doesn't know. Basically, he'd go through, like, study the form, go to the bookies, put a bet on, watch it in the afternoon. And when when I was younger, he used to just tell me to pick a few out from the same race card, and he'd throw like a smaller lucky 15 on for me, and it would give us some interest as we were watching the racing through the afternoons. There was a random horse. There was a horse. The first one that I can properly remember winning was a horse called Notre Père. It won the Welsh National, I'm pretty sure, in either about 2007, 8, 9. But I backed it at like 16-1 or 20-1, and I was absolutely buzzing. And that sort of gave me the bug. And as I got a bit older, I kind of like, you know, as you go through your teenage years, I kind of fell away from it a little bit. There was lots of like school stuff taking over, and then like football was obviously still big for me. Still is, but and like cricket I was playing a lot of, etc. So racing kind of went on the back burner. When I was 16, 17, 18, I was following it at I was following it to a moderate level, always just monitoring Ludlow races a lot when that was on, etc. But I never fully dived into it. When I was about 21, I was in an office job. I went on holiday to Magaluf, right, and I got violently hungover the one day on a sunbed out on a beach, and me and my friend George were lay there, and there was a local who came and he was selling pineapple, and I was trying to sleep, and he flicked the pineapple on my face, like, you know, to try and get me to buy some. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? Anyway, so I woke up startled. I was like, well, I can't get back to sleep now. And I was just sat there like this. George was awake as well, and he goes, oh, so what do you want to do with your life, Wilkes? Like, what's the plan? And I was like, well, I don't really know. And he's like, what would you love to get into? And I was like, I think I could do like a sports journalism sort of style. I think I could be a reporter, a journalist. And then he was like, okay, why don't you do that then? Got back on holiday a week later, had a little look into it for about 2 days, and was like, yeah, I'm going to apply to go to uni to do sports journalism. Quit the job, which is quite a big move. Moved away from, like, I had a girlfriend at the time down here, I had all my friends down here at the time, and then moved away. Made quite a big step, sacrificed the job. I was like, right, if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it. Like, we're gonna go, I don't really want to say balls deep, but we're gonna go for it. To be honest,
you can say whatever you want, by the way.
Thank you. Good. We'll have to edit that out. Yeah, we're gonna go balls deep into it. And interestingly, like, because I followed the horses. I went to uni in Gloucestershire in Cheltenham, and obviously Cheltenham right by it as the racing, as you know. And everyone on the course was like, okay, football, or they were like F1 or something. And there was such a niche with horse racing. But because I'd been following it when I was like 18, 19, I knew all about it. So any horse racing opportunities that came up, they were like, okay, Jake can do it because he's done it before and he's been doing loads of things. So we started writing for a ownership syndicate called Old Gold Racing. I write for Cheltenham Post, Gloucestershire Live, all local outlets there. Got into like the Cheltenham Festival, worked there for a few years now, as we'll touch on in a bit, coming up again this year. And yeah, it's gone from there really.
100%. Like, did you pick out Cheltenham because you knew you wanted to do horse racing? Was it by coincidence?
Sports journalism like isn't a course that's like widely like at every university. I think there was one in Derby and there was one in Gloucestershire, but because of everyone I had back home, my friends and family, I was like, okay, if I go to Gloucestershire, that's not too far away. Like, it's only an hour and a half away. So I could come back if I was absolutely hating it. So that was kind of like a part of the decision process. It wasn't so much the course, but it was like lifestyle as well.
Yeah, yeah. That is unbelievable. Like obviously we've been mates for a few years now, but I didn't even know that story. So that's class. Like and I love a story like that, how things just madly fall into place. Obviously you had that initial sort of thing with, you know, your dad and going down and enjoying it, enjoying the process of watching the races and whatnot and getting into it on a local basis, and then all of a sudden it just one thing leads to another out there in Magaluf. Magaluf, the place where dreams start, you know. That's what we're going to have to label this as, you know,
Yeah,
all
dream
dreams are
start.
created in Magaluf. And yeah, yeah. I mean, but hey, there's our sales sort of pitch for Magaluf. There is that you can have it's like an ayahuasca experience, but different. You know, it's slightly more painful probably. But hey ho, it worked, and I'm buzzing for you that it worked. And again, same thing with the social media now. Like I'm always in touch with sort of what you're doing on social media, and I just think it works fantastically. You know, I think you're perfect at that, and what you're doing at the moment, and that's the whole point, isn't it? It's sort of doing the meat and potatoes of journalism, doing saying what you're meant to say, but having your own twist on it, putting your own personality on it, and I think it works fantastically. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of it this week coming, because we've got Cheltenham Festival. I am buzzing. I think I said this to you the other week, like every year with Cheltenham, it's gone like this. We obviously went together a couple of years ago. I was scrolling through, I was out for brunch on Sunday and I was scrolling through my camera roll trying to find when we went to Cheltenham. It was just an unbelievable day. Like I think I said to somebody, it's like that might be my in my top 10 motives of all time. Like just how random it was. Haven't seen any of those lads again, you know, like, but it was just a quality one, like, and and I just, oh, what a day, what a day. And then ever since that, I mean, the first time I got into Cheltenham was the COVID year, the COVID year. And I
Mhm.
remember sitting there all week. I don't know if I had my job at Ludlow then, but I sat there all week. I don't think I did. Oh, I didn't. I was just finishing college. I sat there all week and watched it every single day. And I didn't know what the hell was going on, to be fair, but I watched it because there was nothing else to do. And then every year it's gone like this. And obviously being mates with yourself, you know, it's got me into the fever. So year after year we're building up. Um, is it the busiest time of the year for you? Is it the most exciting? Like, is it the busiest for work, and is it the most exciting week of the year as a fan, like from a work and a fan perspective?
Yeah, busiest week for me by a mile. Just in terms of we know what's running like way in advance, so you can make an educated guess of what's going to be running like or declared to run. So I'll be doing write ups on horses. I could do them 3 to 4 weeks in advance, knowing that's going to be in the race, or that's the target for that horse. So I can do loads and churn out loads of content. Whereas on like just a generic weekends racing, you only know what's going to be declared like 4 or 5 days in advance, and then you hone in on it from there. Cheltenham Festival is probably the biggest uh, festival meetings of the UK. In my opinion, in the horse racing scene, probably goes Cheltenham, Royal Ascot second,
Yeah,
and then maybe Aintree, for example. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, Cheltenham's the biggest one. I feel like even if you don't if you don't follow horse racing, I should say, like yeah, you know what Cheltenham Festival is. You know, like even for that week, everyone turns into experts. They're going, okay, I'm going to back this. This is going to win 100% sort of thing. Like there'll be people messaging me that I haven't spoke to for years, just going, oh, so what do you fancy on this day? Just because of the line of work I'm in. I'm like, do one, mate. Like you haven't spoken to me for ages, to be honest. But like, my phone will blow up like during it. As you know, with my social stuff, I've been doing a lot on TikTok recently. We've gained a nice little group of people who join the live streams and constantly message and chat racing with us, which is quite nice. It'll be my first proper TikTok where like I've got like a bit of a following on that side of things, which will be nice. They'll keep up with everything that I'm doing. But yeah, biggest week of the year. It's busy. Like today's been busy on. Yesterday was busy on. Tomorrow will be busy. Like, but it's great. You feel absolutely wrecked by the end of it, or I do anyway. But yeah, load the Guinnesses. I'll need a few after.
I'm gutted I'm missing out on the Guinness Village. I'll have to have one from here, whilst I'm watching it. I'm strategically, and obviously, hopefully, none of my clients see this, but obviously, Wednesday I'm not in. However, I'm going to try and strategically not book in when I know there's like a relatively big race on. So anything after 4 o'clock, okay, I can sort of deal with. I know that's a very amateur way of looking at it, but that 1 o'clock or whenever we start 12 o'clock through 4 o'clock, I'm just going to make sure I strategically book people in at the right time so I don't miss a big race. And obviously, you're very busy, like you just said. So we massively appreciate you coming on, my man. And that's why we're going to turn to get your advice. Okay, we're going to be that annoying mate who gives you a bell just before to see what we're liking and what we're not fancying. Okay, because I'm going to give you a couple of questions as to horses that you like, don't like, and surprise packages as well. Okay, if you can keep these to one horse as your standout for each, okay? I don't want any of these covering your back ones like I do with my golf picks. I sort of say, I predict this guy, but if it's not this guy, I'll give you a million other names and then take credit for it. I want one horse for each, okay, for these following questions, all right?
Yeah,
So,
go.
but or a race each as well, because this first question is specifically about a race, okay? So you've got the Cheltenham Gold Cup. That's the sort of gold star race,
Yeah.
the headline race, so to speak. But besides that, what's the one race you're looking forward to next week that you think people should be paying attention to?
I will go for the Champion Hurdle.
And why?
Because it's a crazy division. Excuse me. Basically, as you know, Constitution Hill is not going. Constitution Hill is worldwide, well, UK based, the biggest horse, certainly from a media point of view, in national hunt racing. Really, he had a couple of bad falls for anyone who doesn't know, and they spun him on the flat the other day. It was really impressive. He is the single-handedly most impressive horse I've ever seen, just from a performance that he did at Cheltenham in the Supreme Novice Hurdle when he won it, and the Champion Hurdle the year after. He's not going, which basically goes wide open division. There's so many question marks with it, so we'll just spin through a couple of the horses. The New Lion won a Grade 1 race at Cheltenham last year. There's questions whether he'll be fast enough over 2 miles. Brighter Days Ahead. She's a very good mare. She hasn't performed ever at Cheltenham, but if she brings her best form, she'll go close. Lossy Mouth might not go to the race. You're not sure yet. She might go to the mares. Golden Ace won it last year. Slightly fortunate when State Man fell when he was miles clear. There's just so many different question marks. And then you've got a few others like the Alexis, your Paniroses, who could you don't have to be amazing to win it. But I think the Champion Hurdle's been the race that people have spoke about the most in the build-up. And it'll just be nice to get some answers about everything. I've nailed my colours to a mask on a couple of horses. And it would just be nice to just say, yeah, well, I told you that would happen. But that's not really how it's going to work. But I just, from an arrogant side of things, I want to be like, yeah, that's class. I saw this coming.
Yeah. And that's Tuesday at 1 or Tuesday at 4, isn't it?
Tuesday, 4 o'clock. Yeah, 5th race.
Yeah. Tuesday, 4 o'clock. I will be paying attention to that and looking forward to that one massively. Okay, then, horse questions now, specific horse questions. What one horse do you think is going under the radar at this Cheltenham Festival that no one's really speaking about, but has a really sneaky, or even maybe even have a really good indication that he's gonna go close?
I'll go for one at a bit of a price because I don't want to be one of these people who comes on and gives you the favourite in whatever race. Last race of the Tuesday, okay, 18 plus, gamble responsibly, but if you're going just for one day, last race, you've got to lock in. You need to find something. You need some magic. Me and you have been in many a time with a position. We're lucky last race. Let's find something.
Bumper it, lovely.
Yeah, absolute desperate times. We need to pull something out now. It's last saloon. There's a horse running called Wade Out, trained by Ollie Murphy. He's 10-1 currently. Basically, to be fair, he's very talented. He's just lazy, or he just appears lazy.
Yeah.
He basically runs over 3 miles. And when I say he races lazily, the jockey fully has to encourage him along all the time. You're firmly being ridden basically the entire way. And whilst that is a warning sign, and you're probably thinking now, well, I don't want about that. He keeps finding the stamina reserves keep going. He keeps churning away. He won impressively over the course a couple of starts ago. He's got bags of stamina. Basically, he's moving up in trip. He's running over 6 furlongs further. it's a proper marathon trip, but he's a horse that is properly going to be suited to it. Like, he is all stamina. If, right, and it's a big if he could just travel through the race a little bit with a bit more enthusiasm, he'd have a hell of a chance. Like, I don't want to be like 10 lengths off the leader, turning in and then running on to finish third and be like, well, that was predictable. Like, if he could just be within touch, like going in, he's going to stay. Like, he'll pick up the rivals. It's just going to be as he travels through the race. Like, I'll be able to know pretty much after about a mile whether this is a good thing or not, and I'll be deleting the socials account if he struggles.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? I will make a note of that, and that's why he's on here, ladies and gents. If you do like a little bet, and again, 18 plus, gamble responsibly. If you do like a little bit of a bet on the horses, that might be a shout that works in our favour, because I'll probably be hopping on board with that shout and just seeing how we go. Have a little outside pop. That's fantastic. Talk to me now. Give me a horse that has got a lot of attention, a lot of hype, a lot of expectation on them, that you're literally looking at and trying to swerve and not mention, and maybe put word out there that might not be the most sensible thing to do to back.
There's a horse called No Drama This End. It's going for the Turners Novice Hurdle, Grade 1. I just don't think he's that good, just to be honest. He's a favourite, and I'm like, I look at the race and I just go, like, what else is going to turn up? Like, admittedly, like, as you know, like, there's a 2 mile race, there's a 2 mile 4 race. There's not worlds apart. Some horses will go for it. Like, there's not too much difference. We're kind of unsure which ones are going to be going for which race. This one's definitely going to be going. He won the Grade 1 Challow Hurdle, but there's a stat: the last 11 winners of the Challow Hurdle that have run at Cheltenham have all lost. I don't think he's going to buck that trend. I think he's beaten nothing. I think he's going to be a better chaser. I just don't think he'll have the speed. I think he'll get swallowed. Paul Nicholls trains him. And whilst I still believe Paul Nicholls has got all the capabilities of training Cheltenham winners, for all that he hasn't had loads in recent years, I still think this horse is just overrated. I can't believe it's 7-2. I'll be fully laying it. Hopefully something like along the lines of a couple that I might have mentioned, like Talk the Talk or someone like that might go there. But like, there's got to be that. There's got to be better than that.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. Okay, so I will look at that and have a second think about it for sure if I do come to that race. Absolutely. Okay, simple, maybe a simple question.
You're just going to text me in the morning and be like, yeah, do you know what, Wilkes, I'm just going to ignore this. I'll put 20 quid on it. I'm like, right, great. Thanks for that. Watch it win by 4 lengths and you text yourself just a link of this podcast. Can't be bothered, mate. I know what you like.
No need to call me out like that, man. No need. If I panic, I panic. It's nothing against you. I just might panic.
What happened the other day? I love when I told you about one and you were like, yeah, I like this. And then you listened to the racing TV commentator and went, yeah, do you know what? I've changed my mind, Wilkes. I backed someone else. I'm like, right, great. Thanks for that.
I got away with one there. But yeah, Cheltenham comes along. I haven't maybe followed these horses as much. I might do a bit of studying on the Monday, mind you, if I've got a bit of spare time. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what we can do, whether we stick or twist. Okay then. Maybe the easiest question out of the 3 horse-related questions that I've given you. Just give me one name that you're almost. I think I know what you're going to say here. Give me one name which you're almost certain is going to win. In fact, you'd be gobsmacked if it doesn't.
Bambino.
We've got to say things come surprisingly. We've got to say that, it's nothing's ever a lock.
Bambino Fever, Mares Novice Hurdle. Mares Novice Hurdle's like,
Really?
but I think the second favourite is drifting a little bit, so they might not run.
Okay.
If they do run, she's good. Others, Tiupu. We love Tiupu.
Interesting. Okay. Tiupu and Bambino Fever. You've got those 2 names there.
Mashbro as well.
Yeah, I was going to say. I thought you were going to say Mashbro.
I mean, I was on a racing podcast the other week. I napped him up when he won, and I felt like I was amazing just because this horse is a bit of a crank. He jumps a little bit off sometimes, but he had cheap pieces on, and then he pinged every fence. I was like, yeah, this is class. Yeah, throw Mashbro in as well. Treble them up. Why not? Let's go wild.
100%. I'll be locking that treble in literally as soon as we come off record. And I heard you on that podcast. Pick Majborough, and you're sort of the other lads on there weren't really fancying it, and I was like, fair play to you for sticking to your guns and then it coming through. That's always a nice feeling. But yeah, fantastic stuff, fantastic little selections. And guys, if you want any more sort of analysis, Jake's just given us some fantastic horse racing analysis there. If you are interested in your bets and you want a bit of an educated bet as opposed to just a blind pick at whatever your best colour is, your favourite colour, or pick out the grey, which is always a popular sort of thing to do, head over to Jake Wilkes' social media, Instagram and mostly TikTok. So that'll be on the screen, and I'm sure he'll be able to dive deep into horses that he fancies and maybe doesn't fancy as well. Okay, circling it back round for the last couple of minutes to golf. Okay, we are doing a running theme throughout this podcast. We are doing a Room 101, which is effectively what are things about golf and club golf, or just any aspect of golf, that annoy us. Okay, and if they annoy us, we've been doing a couple of things. We've been doing just general things. We've been doing club competition formats, which actually the end of this podcast, me and Ben are going to get stuck into and talk about our new format which we've created just to make club golf a bit better, a bit more interactive, and add something new to it. But there are always these things. Golfers, we're moaners. We are moaners. Okay, I try and keep my moaning to a minimum, but especially club members, sometimes understandable. You pay your money to have a membership. Sometimes in a lot of cases a lot of money per year to be a member of a golf club, and then it might be that the competitions committee or someone at the top of that golf club is serving you up just absolute rubbish, and you're thinking, what is the point? So of course you're going to moan, all right? But what we want to do is kick those out. We're gonna refine club golf, so to speak, okay, throughout this podcast. And what we're going to do is a guest themed Room 101. Okay, so how this is going to work is I'm going to ask Jake, our first guest, what is the thing that annoys him most, and if it got removed from golf completely, it could be anything, absolutely anything. It could be the condition of the course. It could be, like I said, like the pins having sort of splinters in. So if you pick them up, you end up getting splinters. Like, that's just so damn annoying. Okay. And then the next guest comes on and has to either agree with Jake, so it goes through to our grandmaster, Ben Hartshorn, and he decides whether we're going to put it in Room 101 or not. Or the next guest can decline it and say, oh, I actually quite like that. I don't want that to go into Room 101. And in which case, all of Jake's efforts will have gone to waste. Okay. So it's a little bit of fun, a little bit of interaction in there. So with that being said, okay, Jake, talk to me about the thing that annoys you. And we want to big up golf, by the way. We're not just slagging golf off for no reason, but it's a little bit of fun, okay? What annoys you most in any aspect of golf? It could be in the clubhouse, it could be on the golf course, it could be the structure of a golf club in terms of who is in what position, you know. And obviously we can't name names in any case, so we can't name names of people at Ludlow at Jake's golf club. But talk to me, Jake. What annoys you the most? What do you want to put to Room 101?
I've got two, so I'm going to discuss both.
You've got to select one.
Yeah, I know.
We can't have two.
But I'll select one, but I'm just going to go through both of the things, all right?
Okay.
Number one is temporary greens. They are absolutely honking. And if anyone says they're a good thing, it is the most ridiculous line of argument. I'd rather not play the hole than have a temporary green, because I've been with you many a time and I've been with others where, okay, brilliant. I've got 170 yards to the pin that's stuck in the middle of the ground and absolutely nowhere. I've now got to play, I'm using my bloody 3-wood to try and knock it 5 yards just because it's going to bobble. You can't judge the pace. You get wicked turns. Like, how can you have a respected competition where, you're putting on just grass, a bobbly grass, may I add, and, oh, brilliant, you've made like a birdie on here with a temporary green. Congratulations, you've knocked the ball like I don't know, 100 yards. Or on the flip side of it, I'm 20 yards away. Can you tell me why it's taken me 7 shots just to get the ball into the bloody hole? Like, absolutely woeful, awful. I'd rather, we played the other day and we were like, I hope there's no temporaries. Like, I'd rather just completely ban them completely. So that's one. And whilst I'm on a rant, the second thing is competitions with an alternate day. So your Saturday competition or your Sunday competition. So say you look in the calendar. Oh, there's a medal on Saturday. Okay, brilliant. Yeah, fantastic. You play, you shoot really well. You shoot 5 under. Great, fantastic. Oh, buzzing. And then you get an email through on the Monday going, oh, unfortunately, someone on the Sunday in absolutely pristine conditions went and shot 8 under and you've lost. So one, you think you've actually got you think you've won essentially on one day, and another thing with this is you could play in the absolute like wind, rain, like thunderstorm. You could have completely different conditions, and then the next day someone could come in the sunshine, no wind, shoot 10 under, and you'd be like, well, what a waste of time. Alternate day frustrates me. If you're not there, you're not there. Like, you don't need to have it. It's just a money spinner.
I completely agree. It's a money spinner. The angle that golf clubs would throw at you is that people, if people are away and they only have a chance to play on one of the days at the weekend, which normally this is, they want to encourage people to put their cards in. So that would be the holistic way of spinning it that a golf club would tell you. But it is tough. It's like an open championship, but you don't get a chance to respond. Open championships often are decided by the draws in terms of, okay, you might get a still morning then a still afternoon, and if you're on the early side of the draw, you've got a massive advantage. That happens for a lot of golf tournaments, mind you, whenever the weather changes, which it is unpredictable unless we're out in Florida for the most part. So that is tough, and British golf especially, that's gone under the radar. I do completely agree with that. And like you said, it is a bit of a money spinner. They're going to be happy taking the money for entries in. The argument again would be look at the weather forecast, but sometimes again, if your competition's on that day, we can't exactly hold our whole weekend on halt just to see what the weather's doing, so we can have a good chance at the comp. And chances are, you go out, you have a good draw, and then you maybe make triple on the first, and you think, Jesus Christ, it's a long way back from here. So
Yeah.
it's tough, and I do massively agree with you there. So you've given us two really good ones. Obviously, temporary greens is. If someone says no, I'm not putting temporary greens into 101, my next guest, for instance, I'll be gobsmacked and I'll be having words when we sort of stop recording, because that is ridiculous. Which of those two are you going to put forward? You can only put one forward, Jake, until you get to come on, have the pleasure of coming on again.
I'm going to throw alternate day comps in because, like, there's been many a time where you've rocked up on a Sunday morning. Maybe not yourself, but I have. I've rocked up on a Sunday morning, looking forward to just playing like a Stableford or something, and you're like, oh yeah, looking forward to this. And someone goes, oh, you need to be. Someone's just gone and shot 48 points the day before, and it's like, well, what's even the point? Like, they played yesterday. It was sunny. It was like living in Barbados, and then today we're in the rain, sleet, cold, snow, storm, whatever. And I've gone and shot 34 points, sweated my ass off for 34 points, and then someone's gone and shot 48 on a lovely day. Can't be asked. Alternate day, get it in there. And if anyone disagrees, then I don't know what to do.
To hold yourself back there, from getting proper serious.
Really
It could have got nasty if you didn't stop yourself there.
This
Yeah,
is a
but
bad idea.
Very good, very good. I think underrated shout. That completely went over my head when me and Ben did this exercise. So fantastic shout, fantastic interview. Thank you so much for coming on. As I've said a couple of times in this little section, Jake's social media account we will leave there, but in case you can't read and you're just listening, obviously for people watching on YouTube, it's going to be quite difficult. If you want to go and follow Jake, it's at jake.wilkes, WILKES on Instagram, and at Jake Wilkes 5 on TikTok. All right, so go and give him a shout, go and give him a follow. Okay, and busy time of the year. We're not completely done when Cheltenham's out the way. We still got the Grand National to get out of the way if you're interested in solely jumps racing. So there's plenty of stuff to get involved with. We're not going to forget Jake exists when next week's over. Go and give him a follow and keep up to date with everything. Jake, I will let you go watch your beloved Arsenal, which I like you very, very much, and that's your one downside is being an devoted Arsenal fan, and I know they're kicking off in just a little bit. So I'll let you go and watch them, and yeah, thank you very, very much for coming on.
Top man, thanks you, and cheers, brother.
And there you go, there he was, the man himself, Jake Wilkes. I hope you guys all enjoyed that little cameo from him, that little interview. I certainly did. And we hope to get more. In fact, I know we're having more. Okay, we've got another guest lined up next week who we will reveal in due course. He's another person doing extremely well for himself on the social media front, and I'm sure you guys, if you didn't enjoy Jake, which I'll be very, very surprised at, you definitely will enjoy our guest next week, because as far as characters go, I've managed to secure one of the biggest characters that you can find, that I know, in fact. So yeah, looking forward to that. But as always, as I just mentioned, thank you very much to Jake for coming on, and we hope that you all enjoy the horse racing next week, as well as the Grand National coming up the week after, which you'll be at, Ben Hartshorn.
Yeah, Grand National. I'll be at. Yeah. Good point. I'm looking forward to that. Grand National. I'll be at. Yeah. What horse racing I'll be watching there, I don't know, but yeah, don't listen to me for picks. I'll be listening to you lot for picks. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, don't include me. I just have sources. I tell you what, one thing I do enjoy, as I mentioned there to Jake, is I love getting in the form book and trying to pick out, okay, who's in form, who's not in form as such, why are they in form, potential suspicious reasons as to why, and then making a selection and then inevitably getting it wrong. But when you get one right, like even if it's like 1 in 5, it's an unbelievable feeling. And as I said, I don't condone gambling habits at all. I've never been one to get myself stuck into that, and I know many people do, but yeah, there is definitely an enjoyment off the back of that. You feel like definitely a more
Mm.
cultured individual than I actually am. So no, going to enjoy that next week at Cheltenham and also at the Grand National, of course. So thank you very much to Jake coming on, and yeah, make sure to go and give him a follow on all his social media accounts. Okay then. We are back and talking golf for the most part now, because as promised at the start of the podcast, me and Ben have cooked up our own competition format. Okay, we're replacing rubbish formats like the waltz, like the Texas scrambles, 4-man Texas scrambles. With, you all know, people are going to rock up, 326, 27, 28 handicappers are going to rock up to your Texas scramble, shoot a net 48, and take all your money that you've paid to get in there. So we want to get rid of those within reason. Unless you want to do a charity day, Texas scramble, we don't want to be seeing tournaments like that. We don't want to be seeing the waltzes. We want to be doing what me and Ben have cooked up here. And Ben is going to be the lead picture to you guys as to why this format's going to be so good. Ben Hartshorn, talk to us about the format that we've cooked up, and why it's going to be so good.
Yeah, so a different sort of format. So what do we want to create in golf? What's sport about on an amateur level? It's about collaboration, about playing with someone, working with someone. Golf is such an individual sport. It's such a mentally grueling individual sport. I mean, in this country, don't know where I'm going with that. But yeah, so let's look at this. So we are creating a format that is played in twos, in duos, you may call it. In a format where they can work together on a different front, on different levels, for different holes. So like your standard 2-man format is your foursomes, famously played in the Ryder Cup, your better balls, which are playing a Ryder Cup, a very good format, and we're gonna use a scramble, 2-man scramble, which again Euan has just slagged off scrambles. I do quite like a scramble. I've won a few in my time, and to win a scramble as a low handicapper is something that should be celebrated. So I'm proud of that. But so name of this new format. Well, what should we call it? What's going to be different? Are we going to make it too different that you don't remember it? But should we link it to other golf formats? We did have some other names, controversial or not, but we're thinking to call it three sums. So again, if you're going to go up and play in a 3-ball, this is different. This is three sums. And this is not three sums because there's 3 players. It's three sums because there's 3 different formats. So I'll talk about the basic structure, and Euan will talk about how you can play this format. But within this format, you're going to play foursomes, better ball, and scramble format within your 18 holes. So for 6 holes, for each of them, you're going to play each of the 3 different formats in whatever order. So you might turn up on the first, and Euan will explain this a bit better, and your 2 first holes might be 2 foursomes, and then you play a better ball, and then you play a scramble on the 4th hole. You go up to the 5th, and you play a foursomes hole again. So you are working with your partner to work through each format. It takes a lot of communication. Obviously, on your foursomes, it's a format where you've got to trust each other. You've got to maybe talk to each other about where you want to put the ball for each other to get the best out of each other. Talk to each other on the greens. Look at each other's putts. And then you'd be like, well, let's do a better ball. So what's a better ball involved? You're playing both your own balls, and maybe it's for a hole where you are an individual and you're trying to make a birdie, you're trying to make a par yourself, and hoping your partner makes either a better score than you. And then a scramble is working together. You're going to play off the same lies. You're going to pick the best ball out of both your shots, and you're going to have a bit of fun. And you're going to have put some pressure on yourself to make a birdie. So I think Ewan's going to explain how you can use this format. I may have not explained it that well, but Ewan will, I'm sure, will refine what I've just gone through. But yeah, threesomes. Again, some of you may have had a threesome, but this is a different sort of threesome. This will be my first threesome when I play this. I don't know about for you, and I can make a guess. It's probably his first threesome, but I'll let him tell you.
Yeah, you'd be absolutely correct. I mean, again, I haven't really, looked into activities or formats that are the namesake of this format, but I think it's a fantastic name, and I think it's a fantastic format. And the reason for that is it's also very diverse. Okay, you've got to be ready to adapt, all right, like you have in other sort of things that might involve three or three formats, three people. Let's just not even go there. But you need to be ready to adapt and improvise. Okay, within those formats, you need to be able to change your mentality, change your approach, your strategy. According to if you're playing a match against another pair, you need to know, okay, well, what format have I got coming up here? What do we need to prioritize? Do we need to attack? Do we need to defend? Again, a lot like other formats. Okay, do we need to play aggressive? Do we play conservative? How do you plot it? That's what I love about team golf, is that you need to be prepared for all scenarios. Okay, and then on top of this as well, like, we want to be able to play threesomes in a match play sense, but we also want to play threesomes as a whole golf club or as a whole open. You sign up to a threesomes event. Okay, and again, this is golf. I'm speaking strictly golf here, but you sign up to a threesomes event, and you need to be able to play against others. You need to be going up against other people who are going to be very, very good at threesomes. And again, what are we going to sort of do here to improvise? Well, we need to come up with a criteria to help how many shots you've got. So what we're thinking here is we're thinking basically combining your two handicaps and your playing handicaps on the day. Okay, and my initial sort of thought was to obviously divide that by 2 and then get that as your total shots. Okay, and what you could do as well is basically, if you were to swap, and this is a good thing about threesomes, you're probably thinking, well, there's 4 formats you can play in doubles. Okay, Ben mentioned there what we're going to do. We're going to play Texas Scramble. But if you wanted to swap that out for a little bit more of a difficult format, let's just say you take Texas Scramble out, because we know it can be a bit slow at times, Texas Scramble. 3 holes of both pairs playing Texas Scramble could get difficult. So if you were to take that out for greensums, okay, what you might do is you might change the percentage of your combined, okay? In fact, thinking about it, if you were to have Texas Scramble in, I don't know if you agree with this, Ben. If you were to have Texas Scramble in, what you might do is take 75% of the combined, okay, and then halve it by 2. And then if you were to play greensums, you might play the full 100% combined and then do it by 2, because obviously Texas Scramble, a little bit more of an advantage there. So that's what we're going to refine on the fly a little bit there. So the main format is going to be 75% of combined divided by 2. And then if you were to swap it out for a slightly more difficult format, i.e. a greensums, you might play full combined divided by 2. And then obviously you're doing the same thing in a match play sense, okay? So if you were going up against another side and you select the main threesomes format, which would obviously be your 4 balls, foursomes, and Texas Scramble, you're going to play you're going to play 75% of your combined and then half it by 2. And then the difference between those two playing handicaps, that's how many shots you give the other team, or vice versa, how many shots you receive. But I think it's a really, really good idea. And I also think that you can mess around with it, especially playing the social golf. You can select what formats the other team needs to play and when. So especially if you're both members of the same golf club, you can have a bit of a mess around with the other team and go, hang on, I want you to play this format on this hole, and vice versa. The other team obviously has to do the same for you. It takes a little bit of time pre-round when you're probably rushing there and maybe you haven't had a warm-up off the tee. It takes a little bit of time, but you can maybe agree that beforehand. 4 people, you like to think you're going to be able to do that. Ahead of this threesomes debut, okay, we're making our threesomes debut. We're going to be making them very, very soon, okay, and we're going to record it for you guys because you don't want to miss out on something like this. All right, Ben, what are you looking forward to most about playing this format for the first time?
Yeah, I'm very excited. I think Yeah, we were talking. You're talking, alluding to, yeah, you can do it in a club competition, which would be great, and maybe the club or the chairman, the competition chairman can decide what format you play for each hole. That's brilliant. But this is I mean, for me solely a great match play event where me and you, hopefully, I've got two candidates in mind. We'll go and play against, or we'll mix the teams, can go and have a great fun match where we will decide for each team, for the other team, what formats are going to play on each hole. Obviously, like a course like Church, which we will likely play, has some very unique holes, and we may feel that a certain format might suit a certain hole, especially with the final hole being a short par 3 18th, or the first hole being such a tough um, par three first. I mean, I'll be maybe electing for, you wouldn't want a foursome start on the first, I wouldn't think. At the same time, you probably wouldn't want a foursomes finish on the 18th. So yeah, excited for it. If we can get the shots and everything ready, I think this will be really fun. Keep tabs on what format you're playing for each hole. Make sure you both teams have the integrity, to be honest, and what format they're playing. But yeah, it could be a really, really good, fun format, and could get you around quicker than a normal round if you're all playing your own ball, which is, for me, most important. We've got to try and make golf faster, more efficient, because it's fucking shite sometimes being on a golf course stuck behind people. Um, yeah, so very excited.
Yeah, I think it blends four people being on the course. Obviously, foursomes is your elite way of doing this, but I
Yeah,
think it blends creativity, speed, and I think it blends entertainment really, really well as well. Okay, and then what we want to say off the back of this is our first go. We've got other formats up our sleeve, as Ben mentioned alluded to earlier. We've got other formats up our sleeve, so we're going to go out. We're going to test this in the next few weeks, and hopefully we'll let you know. In fact, that's going to be. I've just decided right here now, live on the podcast. That is going to be our YouTube debut in regards to a course vlog. Okay, we are going to vlog this, maybe not every shot, but we are going to vlog this as a debut for the EMJ PGA Podcast YouTube channel, which currently sits at 13 subscribers, which is a healthy amount, but I know there's more out there. So if you haven't already subscribed, go and subscribe to it. All right. But yeah, we're going to debut that, and we're going to see how it goes. As I said, we're going to talk about positives to it, we're going to talk about negatives to it, and if it doesn't work, and we don't like it for whatever reason, we're going to pivot to other little formats and ideas that we've got in our mind. Also, as I mentioned earlier, have your say. Do you like the sound of this? Do you not like the sound of this? If so, why? Okay. And what will put the cherry on the cake is if you do like the sound of this and you've got three other mates that you like to play a bit of social golf with, try this. Yeah, try this. Email us. How has it gone? Did you enjoy it? Do you want clarification on the rules? If so, me and Ben will definitely be happy to help, and we will come to your aid. I think that'll be a fantastic little thing. It's way more entertaining than a three-man waltz. I don't care what anybody says. I know I'm a bit harsher on Texas Scrambles. I know how entertaining they can be, but they're slow as hell. They are slow as hell. Doesn't matter if you've got three people on there. Watching a whole group of people walk from one side of the fairway to another is absolutely grueling at times,
yeah,
especially when you're waiting on the tee. So I feel like we found the right balance here, and yeah, I'm sure that we'll be excited to play this format, and then if we need to, divert in a different direction. And yeah, we hope you think that's fantastic. Okay then, thank you very much for listening to today's podcast. Bit of a different one, as I said. Really, really happy to have our first guest on. It's been what, 6 weeks now since we started the podcast. We haven't had a guest on, but very, as I said earlier, thank you very much to Jake for coming on and helping us out, and letting us have his time, which is massively appreciated. And as always, thank you to Ben again, like a massive help co-hosting this podcast. So thank you very much to yourself, Benjamin Hartshorn. Obviously, looking ahead to next week, we've got Bay Hill to review, and also we can come back. We haven't decided exactly what we're going to do for the Thursday podcast just yet, but we want to hear from you guys. So please comment, leave your comments. Have you played the format? Ben, do you think the format's going to catch on?
I think it will take some time, but I think if we can produce some good content on it, and yeah, it'll work for us, I think it can work for anyone. So yeah, yes, I predict it will.
Come on. So keen for it. So keen for it. Okay then, guys. Thank you very much for listening to this week's podcast. Let's see if we get the numbers up from last week. Okay, we had a little bit of a dip in the numbers from this week just gone for you guys, and the week before. So let's see if we can get the numbers up. If you know someone who likes golf, please share this podcast to them. If you think they prefer the Thursday podcast opposed to the Tuesday, obviously share that one. But share them all. We'd appreciate it massively, and let's get these numbers keeping on improving. Okay then, guys, I'm going to stop rambling on. Thank you very much for listening, and we will catch you next Tuesday to review all the action from Bay Hill. We will catch you next time.